because we're Buddhists here, so we're having some prayers. Sorry we don't have enough of the copies here, so if you wouldn't mind sharing with someone. You're all right, you're having one? Yeah. Most of us know it by heart anyway, so it's only one difference here. We're just requesting for teaching, so it's a bit different than the normal come-abiding prayers we're having. So we chanted. Forgive me, my voice is not the best singing, but I'll try my best. Be beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. In the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving, and they like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. In the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving, and they like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. In the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment by virtue of giving, and they like. I shall reach Buddhahood to aid beings. And now the four immeasurable, we chanted 3 times as well. May all beings have happiness, and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, may they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness, and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, may they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness, and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, may they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. So now we pray, we request the teaching. In Buddhist tradition, we have to request the teaching, otherwise Rinpoche can teach us. That's what I was taught, so we better request. According to the intelligence and predisposition of each being, we ask that you turn a Dharma will of great law and common vehicle.
Thank you. Beautifully sung. Sangye chutanzo ye chunam na chanjo bada dani kyapsu che dagi je so ye be sonam je ndala pinje sangye roba. Okay, good morning everyone. So today we have a full day. It's a 9 to 5. You are not escaping your 9 to 5 even on a holiday. Okay, so I think we would maybe spread out. Today's topic is correcting the troubled mind. Yeah? And so I thought we talk first in the morning. Maybe we have a little bit of talk in regards to the mind, the characters of our mind, how the mind works, how our mind works on a personal level. You know, the things that we are we think we have to correct, and how to use certain methods to correct them. And then maybe after that we can have some question answers. We can discuss on the mind. You know. And what if you feel comfortable, then we can discuss on very specific types of situations that the mind is in, and how we should go about working with those. So that would be, I think, second part. And then maybe we do in the afternoon we can do a short meditation also in regards to ourselves, so we can internalize, yeah, we can internalize our what we talked about and what we found out with our situation, and how we are going to look at the situation, from what perspective we can look at the situation, and how we are going to apply these different perspectives in that situation to somehow maybe work with the situation. Yeah. And then after that, in the evening, we can, if you feel like it, we can continue and have more question answers and more discussion. I think that's one of the best methods. Yeah, and lunch is here. Yes, lunch is served here. We are having potluck. Potluck. Yes, we are having potluck. So that one, and yeah, we relax, we enjoy, we try to enjoy, we try to relax. Yeah, we don't have to be so stiff. One of the best things, one of the best methods that work on the mind is when the mind is calm. Yeah, they always say, in a lot of different scriptures and texts, the mind is either what we say, the example is either given the example of an ocean, or is given example of space. Yeah, so the ocean is in regards to calmness. When you are calm, when you are happy, when you are relaxed, even when things don't work out, there's still no trouble. Yeah? Our mind deals with it in a different way, more calm, more happy, more accepting manner. But when the mind is not calm, then even if things work out, yeah, forget about things not working out. If it's not working out, then the mind goes crazy. But even when things do work out, it still goes a little bit crazy. right? So we don't want that. We want our minds to be calm. We want to be relaxed. Yeah, we want to take whatever. So, I always say the first step to meditation, the first step to analytical meditation, the first step to single pointed meditation, and the first step to patience meditation. Yeah, the 3 types of meditation. The first step is always learning to calm the hell down, right? So that is, I think, the first step we do. We, make yourself comfortable, relax your body, your mind. Just feel that you have full freedom here in regards to the choices that you make, right? So that is that. Then another thing is also, don't feel if you need to take a walk outside, if I'm blabbering too much, or if you feel like you need fresh air, don't feel any hesitation. Take your time, go out. Maybe we can have a break as well, things like that. So just we're going to make this as comfortable as possible. Okay, so that was the first one. So characters of the mind. The interesting thing about the mind is we are always, what we say, sort of in a way, sort of like manipulated. We are manipulated into culture, into society, into perspectives, into views, into norms, right? So a lot of the things that we experience in our daily lives, the experience that we have in our daily lives, is very, very dependent on things like that. And it's dependent on society, it's dependent on how others think, it's not dependent on how you think and what the freedom of thought is. No, it's so dependent. So basically our mind has been shaped. We always say in the monastery, they say, it's like dough, right? You put dough on the table, like what we say, mushy dough, you on the table, then it just spreads like that. Then you have to push from here, push from here, push from here, then you put into shape. So something like that. It has the flexibility, it has the freedom, it has all of that, but it doesn't realize it. There is no realization of the freedom and the empowerment and the capability that it has, right? And that is thanks to society, and thanks to what we say, culture, and thanks to politics, and thanks to money, and thanks to all of that our mind has been shaped in a certain way, and therefore it doesn't realize the freedom and the empowerment that it has. So that is one thing I think we will talk about. Now coming to the second part is the expansion of the mind. Unlike our body, which is like, my body is very small, I have a very small body, right? And compared to a lot of other things, compared to an ant's body, our bodies are large, huge, humongous, right? But compared to, again, other things like an elephant's body, our body is very small. But unlike our body, our mind has no limit to it. Yeah, it's like what do we say, a chip with limitless memory capacity. Yeah, a chip with limitless capacity. So it's something like that, our mind. The moment you realize the capacity of it, that's when you realize what it is capable of. Yeah? So this is another character of the mind, that it's limitless. The possibilities, the abilities, and the methods that the mind can apply to anything around us, it's limitless. So now that example goes to space. Yeah, space, expansion, limitless, goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, after so many years, they still haven't discovered the end of space. So similar to that, the mind expands. The more you are willing to expand, the more you are willing to explore, it just keeps on going and going and going and going and going and going. Yeah, so this is the second character of the mind. So the first, the ocean; second, the space. Now comes, I think methods of the mind. The mind works from two different perspectives. One is emotional work, yeah, and one is what we call analytical work. Yeah, these are the 2 points of the mind that the mind can work with. It can work with emotions and it can work with reasoning and logic. Most of the experiences that we have in our lives are very connected with emotion. We are emotional beings. We can't run away from that. We get sad, we get angry, we get lost, we get that, we get this, all kinds of different emotions come up, right? And therefore, the dependence on emotions becomes very, very, it's a part of the mind itself. Now, the second part is analytical, right? Logic, reasoning. Yesterday, we were talking about tenets, and this is, I think, one method, both of the method that Buddhism uses is in regards to emotion and in regards to analytics. The tenets were a system that the Buddha came up with in regards to working with the mind on an analytical basis, reasoning with the mind, subduing the mind, convincing the mind, finding a solid, valid reason to actually proceed on the path, to actually take steps in order to do something, right? We say at your lowest point, you are open to the greatest changes, and that's where these things come into play, right? Now, the second part is emotion. We are, like I said, because we are very emotional beings and our dependence on emotion is very strong. Therefore, when we are incorporating emotions into practice, it works very, 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 very well. And therefore, in a lot of the sutras and teachings of the Buddha, you see emotions, they characterize emotions as teachers. Yeah, our emotions are our own teachers. So, so that would be the second part that we will talk about. Then we go into internalizing. A mind that is not internalized is a mind that cannot be tamed. Taming starts from internalizing. Our mind, the problem we are unable to solve, mental problem, afflictive problems especially, that we are unable to solve is because we are not internalizing. So, internalizing is the core method of solving problems, especially afflictive problems. Okay. Then within that we have a lot of characters, a lot of different methods and means and processes that we would go through. Of course, throughout the day we will go through them. Balancing emotions, recognizing emotions, using destructive and conflicting emotions to your advantage, and there you learn to apply wisdom, right? So, we say anger, hatred, attachment, these are all bad things. These are the what you call the monster under the bed, right? Or the monster in the closet. Bad things. This is how the normal structurization of understanding the mind is. But then in reality, if you connect wisdom into all of this, then it changes. The most destructive emotions can become your greatest teacher. It gives you ability to, and this is one thing also, experiences, we talk about life and experiences that had, and we are traumatized by experiences. Another thing experiences does is, based on how we are willing to look at it, another thing experiences does is it teaches us. We become mature through experiences, right? A child that has never fallen down will never know the pain of being having fallen down, whereas a child who has fallen down would actually learn to take better care of how the child starts to walk, right? That's where when they first start walking, their hands are not out like this, they walk like this, and then once they fall, then they start to have their hands around like this. So when they're falling backwards, their hands are like this. When they're falling front, so they learn this, and it's a process of learning. It's a process of maturity, right? So it's similar, exact same thing. So I think these are the things that we will cover basically. Then we go even deeper into practice, and then I think we will touch a bit on the 6 paramitas. If we can, maybe the 10 paramitas as well, because Tapto Malamishi method, strength, prayer, and Yeshe is wisdom, is again the last 4 chapters of the 10 paramitas, are very, very important qualities that we need to develop, not even if it's not on the path to enlightenment, just in a daily life, to deal with struggle, to deal with people, to deal with any kind of situation. I think it's important. So we will also try to cover. I always say we try to cover and we end up not covering, but this time we try to cover, I think. The problem is I keep on talking and talking and talking and talking, and then, like I said, we lose the sense of time. So these are the things that I think we will talk about, and feel free to, if there's any questions, maybe you write down the questions in regards to specific questions or anything like that, and then we can maybe do a little bit discussions on that. One of the later part of the day, we can go more deeper personal questions, there's things, and the people who are tired, who have done their 9 to 5 and they feel like they need a rest, and you can head home, right? The rest who wants to stay on and who wants to discuss, we can do discussion as well, but based on how you feel, of course. Yes. Okay, so first part. In every method in Buddhism, when it comes to the mind, the first part of the working with the mind is always calming down. This has to be a key practice. Even if you don't have a problem, learn to calm the mind down. Even if you have a problem, learn to calm the mind down. Even if you are facing a situation, learn to calm the mind down. The reason is because reaction, the problem is not the afflictive minds, the problem is the reaction that comes after the afflictive mind. Yeah? So let's say anger comes into play, right? I'm sitting here and someone says something bad to me, then I get angry. Right? So the afflictive mind, the afflictive emotion comes, which is anger, that arises. Now, when the mind is not calm, and there is so the three practices, right? The three type of meditation, it builds habituation in the mind. So we'll talk about that later. But if the mind is not habituated in the practice, what happens is the thought, what follows the thought is action follows the thought. So there can be criticism, there can be action such as physical action, punching, beating, and then there can be also mental action, which is I call it habituation, right? So these are the three kinds of results that comes out of not being calm. When we are calm, anger arises, but then it slowly calms down, and you start your capability to process the action actually comes into play, because the realization, the anger comes into play, and also the conceptual input of how we are going to react and what is the best way to react, that also comes into play. And this we are actually trained with, right? We all of us, we worked in many different fields, and every different field, while you are in that field, we learn to not react to our emotions, right? We are dealing with customers. Most of us, we are dealing with customers, right? So when we are dealing with customers, one of the first things is what? Not to get emotionally involved, right? Not to react emotionally. So we have been trained in it. But then when it comes to personalized situations, that's where we are not trained in. That's where we have a problem. That's where we take advantage of our freedom of thought and speech and action, and therefore we go all crazy, right, all over the place. So this is an important part, is learning. It's something that you already know, deep inside we already know, we are already used to it, but it's just that we are not used to applying it on a personal level. So calming down becomes extremely important in that sense. Yeah, normally when they teach you customer service, they say, okay, you shouldn't react, because when you are reacting, the customer is just customer. They come and they buy things and then they go. You only need to deal. So take some blame, some whatever it is. if they are mad about something, just accept it, say yes, yes. It doesn't have to be internalized. It's just a process sort of thing. So that's how they teach you, to deal with customers when you get what do you call? What is the word? Hard-headed customers. Yeah? So when you get people like that, that's how they teach you to deal with that, right? You take it easy. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to deal with this customer for the rest of your life. It's a very short-term thing, and after it's gone, it's gone. You don't have to take it personally, right? So this is one thing. We are trained in it. Another thing is understanding the mind. Yes, as we talked yesterday, the first level of any practice comes from understanding the mind on the basis of a personal level. We understand very well, we understand the mind very well. We just don't understand the mind very well on a personal level. I give you an example, a good example. Yeah? All of you have friends, right? A close, good friend. Then your friend comes to you for advice. Yeah, we are therapists to our friends. we are able to give them really good advice. Your friend has a problem, he comes to you, she comes to you. You are able to give them really good advice. From a third person perspective, you look at the situation. You are not involved emotionally, you are not involved financially. So you say, okay, I think from my perspective, I think the best method for you is this and this and this and this and this. If you have a problem in your family, don't look at it like this, don't do that, don't do this. We are good at dealing with these things. But then the same exact situation happens on a personal level, then we are confused, we are lost. You see, so that already shows that we have the capacity to deal with a mind that has that situation. And therefore, one method, I think even in the Western culture there is that we say, what we say, looking from another shoe or something like that, from inside of another shoe. Is there a word something like that?
Walking another shoe.
Yeah, walking in another shoe or something like that. So this is similar, I think, to the practice that Buddhism explains. And it's a very universal method. Where you sit, you take one step back, take the emotions out, take everything out, and you look at the whole situation from a third person perspective, and you analyze it. Now you start to see things completely different from when you are emotionally involved, when you are physically involved, when you are characterally involved, when you are mentally involved. Completely different. And this is what we do when a friend comes to you. A friend comes to you and say, oh yeah, Tim, I have this problem, I had that problem, my wife saying this, my husband saying that, my daughter not listening. We are able to give good advice. I think everyone has that experience. Unless you are intoxicated. Then the advice is coming from the intoxication. In that cases, that is a completely different scenario. But generally, because our mind is calm, as a third person, we are not, like I said, we are not involved emotionally, we are not involved physically, we are not involved, mentally. So you look from a third person perspective. The only reason why we are able to contemplate the situation and work out a method that is reasonable is because the mind is calm. The mind is not involved. Yeah? So this is an important method again to calm the mind down, to look at things from a different perspective. Understanding reality is one thing, I think. We talk about that tomorrow even more deeper, about reality, about cosmos, about what we say, breaking between lines of dualism, right? We will talk more about that. I think that's also a very important aspect of the mind that we need to understand. But that will be tomorrow. We talk about emptiness, the view of emptiness, and we can go deeper into that. Now the second thing about mind, I always say, the mind is like a child. It's new, it's fresh, and because, like I said, it's so wide and so big, then it can take in so many different things. If you have a hard drive that has 1,000 terabytes, right? If you have a hard drive that has 1,000 terabytes, because you see the limitlessness, well, there's a limit, but you see huge capacity, capacity. Then you start putting in files like dum dum dum, just drop, no organization. So you drop for many years, you keep drop. Then one day you open it, whoa, all over the place. So our mind is exactly the same as that. It has limitless capacity, and therefore we don't pay attention to categorize, to what is section wise, to clean it up. Yeah, anger pops in, we let it pop in. Hatred pops in, we let it pop in. Desire pops in, we let it pop in. We let it do whatever it wants because of its limitless capability, and we don't see its potential. Yeah, because we were born with it. Yeah, ever since you go back in memory, just think back, close your eyes and think back, and you try to remember when was the first time you discovered that you had a mind. No, that time doesn't exist because it seems like it's a part of you. Yeah, we say no. A lot of people who are struggling with wealth say that, the wealth people who are born with the golden spoon in their mouth. They say, yeah, what, silver? Oh, silver. Sorry, I went one step ahead. Well, people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, they have no, respect for money. They have no value for money. They don't understand the value of money, and they're spending here, spending there, buying this, buying that, throwing here, throwing there, and then people who are in a situation, they think, oh, with this money I could have done this, which are more beneficial than buying a watch that costs $100,000, right? This is the concept that happens, and this is because you realize the potential of it. Same thing with the mind. Unless you realize the potential, you don't see how precious it is. Yeah, so understanding the potential of the mind becomes very, very, very important. We are mere human beings, and especially in society, there's so many human beings, everywhere you go. In Australia, it's actually not too bad. You go to India, every second you see a person, human being coming. No matter how far you're going, so much people, so many people, everywhere, people. You go into the city, it's like this, crowded. So then you think, that's nothing to be impressed about. Yeah, when everyone has, then it's nothing to be impressed. If everyone has an iPhone, then it's not impressing to have an iPhone because everyone has it. Yeah, but when only a few people have it, then it's impressing, it's validated, it's valued. So this is one thing I think also. We see so many of us, so many that we don't see the value in ourselves, in what we have up here, right? So validating the value becomes a second point, I think, in understanding the character of the mind. The third thing is we think it's so hard to deal with the mind, and a lot of people experience that. Yeah? It's so hard to deal with the mind because the mind, like I said, because it's limitless, it has limitless capacity, and it has limitless methods and means and views and perspectives that it can apply, and it can be shaped in any way. So we feel like, so hard to tame the mind or control the mind. But in reality, I think it's our thought that is hard to tame and control. It's our thought that the mind is hard to tame. If you convince yourself, if you start with the word, it's hard to tame, then it's going to be hard. Yeah, everything you say is hard is going to be hard. That's why another thing when in regards to practice, I always say is, we say learn to enjoy the practice. Yeah? If you learn to enjoy, like we talked about time yesterday, the validation of time disappears. So you learn to enjoy doing something, and nothing will stop you. I think Tim, yesterday we were talking in the car, and his partner was a good example. He enjoys his work, and he's 10 years older than you, and he still doesn't want to retire, and he still wants to keep on going, right? Because the enjoyment is there. Same thing with all of the practitioners. You look at all of the practitioners of the past, starting from your gurus and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the past. One thing common is they enjoy practicing. They enjoy helping. Yeah? And that joy is, I think, a key secret to how to be able to do it. When we don't enjoy it, and first of all, when we say that we are not going to enjoy, yeah, that is already you're convincing yourself that, you're convincing, you're digging your own, what is that, digging your own grave, we say, right? Already starting to dig, then, you don't find a way. So instead of that, if you start to see that the existence of joy is in the practice that you are able to, that you want to incorporate into your life, that's when you start to see results. Yeah? Same thing with working with yourself. If you hate yourself, you blame yourself, you discriminate yourself, you beat yourself up, you lock yourself in, yeah? You don't feed yourself well, you don't take good care of yourself, it already shows that there is no joy in taking care of yourself. And if there is no joy in taking care of yourself, what happens? You end up not taking care of yourself. Bottom line. Make sense? So finding the joy in understanding yourselves is extremely important. So now comes, I think, the play of all of the different paramitas. Yeah? Because discovering yourself, like we talked yesterday, discovering yourself has everything to do with unlocking the key to understanding yourself. And without understanding yourself, just because a method worked for Tim doesn't mean it works for me. That's very clear, because the mind is different, the perspective is different, the experience is different, yeah, the level of practice is different, everything is different. So, and one thing we tend to do a lot is we tend to compare and compete a lot, right? In the general world, yes, compete as much as you want. The more competitive you are, the higher chance that you will win, and the higher chance that you are going to get up there, promoted to some point. That is there in the general world, in the what we call cooperative world, especially. You need to be competitive. You need to be challenged to do better, to achieve more. And that's how you do achieve more and do better. But then when it comes to practice and when it comes to working with yourself, there is no competition. Who are you competing with? Yeah, like I said, two minds completely different. You cannot compete. Yeah, you cannot just because you know how to swim, you can't go and say I want to compete with an Olympic athlete swimmer. You can't. It doesn't make any sense. Right? So because of that, therefore, when it comes to practice, there is no competition. You are not competing with anyone. So, let go of yourself from the burden of having to hold on to competition and having to hold on to proof, because you can't prove anything as well. I can sit here and I can say, oh yeah, I am a Lama and I am a Rinpoche and I have studied 10 years in the monastery and so, yeah, but then just because I know how to talk a little bit and I have studied a little bit of Dharma, it doesn't show my practice at all. And you know that. We have a lot of good speakers who are, who you doubt when it comes to their character, right? And I think a lot of politicians are similar like that. You see that in a lot of politicians, how they are able to convince you, how they are able to, it's all about wording and it's all about, having the ability to do that. But are they really true to their words? That's a big question mark, right? Before the election, I will do this, I will do that, and it's so convincing. I'm already signing this paper. Oh, we already started to work this. We already started lay down the concrete. This, a lot of big words. But then after election, disappear. So that's another reason why you cannot compete. Yeah. And I think this is one problem we have with modern what we say, modern meeting, like relationships. It's the first impression, right? Yeah, then the first impression, of course, your best impression, your best look, your best dress, your best watch, your best. So yesterday we were saying, right? You marry an angel, yeah. You live with a human, and you divorce a devil. so you already start to see that you cannot compete there. How we represent is totally different from the real true practice inside, and that exists only inside, and only you can see your practice. No matter how kind you're trying to show yourself to be outside, it doesn't compete. This is no competition there. And therefore, giving yourself the freedom of not having to compete and not having to to show off, that would be, I think, a huge lock that you would unlock, because you will be so much more comfortable, so much more relaxed. Yeah, we don't work good under pressure. Yeah, and that is huge pressure when there's competitive, especially when there's competitive, with so many people. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah, so we want to let go of that pressure. So that's another thing that we need to work on in regards to the mind. Now it's the fourth thing. The fourth thing is, I always say, the mind is, if you're willing to understand it, one of the key factors of the mind is no different from any part of our body. Yeah. This swordsmen, they call it swordsmen, people who fight with the sword. Swordsmen, yeah. Swordsmen, when they teach fighting with the sword, they say you learn to see the sword as an extra hand, like you're a part of yourself, an extension of your hand or something like that, right? So similarly, the mind is a part of you, yeah, a part of your body. So how your body works, your mind works. Yeah, how your mind works, your body works. Yeah, our mind has a huge impact on the body. Some people, they've had. There are a few examples of people who have had cancer for like 2-3 years, but they don't know that they have cancer, and they're very happy, they're joyful, they're talking, they're conversing, they're just normal. Then they go to the hospital and they find out they have cancer. Huge shift. The glow disappears, the joy disappears. Now they actually start to look like they are sick. Even though they have been sick for 2 years, it only starts to show when the mind responds to it. And that's very, very clear. Now there's exact opposite reaction to that as well. I had one of my friends who was a Lama in Sera. He had a very joyful person, and he has such a beautiful way of looking at everything. It is always, And he had kidney problem, and both of his kidney had to get, both of his kidney had problems. So he had to go to what you call blood, blood dialysis. He went to Mysore. He lived there for years. And the reason was someone actually offered him a kidney, wanted to offer him, and he said, no, my body already gone. I don't want to, be the cost to your body also degrading. So he didn't accept any kidney from anyone. I mean, he was, like I said, he was a very, compassionate person in some ways, and full of life. This is one thing, he was full of life. And we went to visit him in Mysore, and he had, his skin here was all tough and hard, here also, because they do dialysis, I think twice every week, and for years and years. It's very, very, very thin, just bones and skin. The eye sockets all in. But his character never changed. He was as happy as he was when he was not sick. And when we were there, I don't play football, but a lot of our friends do play football, and they were planning to go to a football field in Mysore. And even though it looked like he could barely walk, he was all excited. He was like, I also want to go. Yeah, so different, so different. So that's why I'm saying it's an extension of yourself. Yeah, your mind has a huge impact on your body has a huge impact on your mind. Okay, so we need to internalize that as well. So because it works in the same manner, one thing we talked about yesterday was habitualization. Yeah, you remember we talked about habitualization? Most of the things that we do in our daily life, we are able to do because of habitualization. Yeah, talking, for instance, is not something achieved. It's something that is habitualized. Yeah. Even though you are a master, what do you say? You did your PhD in English, doesn't mean you can rap as fast as Eminem, right? Because you don't have the habit. You know all the words, you know how to use it, you know how to speak, you know how to talk, yes. But you are not, even though you are, like I said, you have a PhD in English, doesn't mean you can rap as fast as Eminem. It's totally different. Habitualization. And I said, patience is the key to habitualization. One of the reasons why we are never open to learn and to explore is because we don't have the patience. People who know 5, 6, 7, 8 languages, you will see that they are very patient. So the mind works exactly the same. Yeah? Yesterday I was telling about the right hand and the left hand. Your ability to write with your right hand, of 30 years of practice, I can pretty much confirm that if you give 30 years of practice to your left hand, you will be able to write as well as you write with your right hand. But you need a lot of patience. You need 30 years of patience, right? So habitualization works through patience, and this is the same thing with the mind. Now we talk about karma also. Yeah, yesterday we were talking about karma being cause and effect extended throughout lifetimes, cause and condition extended through lifetimes. So just think of it. If you had lifetimes of practice to be angry, what do you think would be what do you think is easier to come up? A lot of people say, oh, anger just comes. I don't know why, well, you have had a lot of habituations, practice. Yeah. Even in regards to practice in Dharma, when you talk about meditation, we talk about all of this, it has everything to do with habitualization. Even the prayers we are saying, in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge till enlightenment. By virtue of giving and the like, I shall reach Buddhahood to aid all beings. What does this word mean? What is the importance of reciting this word? What do I get out of reciting this word? Does it mean I am going to achieve enlightenment just by reciting words? No. But what does it do? It habitualizes. Yeah, your mind starts to think about it. And every time you think kindness, you think compassion, you think love, you think care, what is it doing? It's habitualizing. It's building, in scientific we say it's building a new neuropath. Is it? Neuropath? Yeah, a new neuropath. So similar to that, even though the neuropath, the building is in the brain, the mind works in the similar way. Yeah, the brain is, I always call it just the organ of the mind. Yeah, just like the eye consciousness, the eyeball is the organ of the eye consciousness, similar to the brain being the organ of the consciousness, okay, the mind. So habitualization builds that pathway. And I always believe that pathway is built through the cause and conditions that you go through, experience, and you habitualize throughout your experiences in life. That's why experience is very important. Yeah, if you had a very hard childhood, the likeliness that you want to provide a very good childhood for your child is very high. Our mind works in that way. It's because we have experienced it, and therefore we don't want them to experience it, therefore we work or we are inspired to provide them aside from the experience that we experience, right? And that also has to do because we know the effect of habituation. When we are when a lot of people, when they're in their 20s, they're in their early teens, with a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of that, this. But then we know what it does. And you go into habituation, you go into addiction, you have all of this problem, and we know what it does. Habituation happens. And therefore, even though we have done all of that, then we always stop others from doing it after coming out of that, because we know the results. In reality, it should be, oh, let them do, you also did it, It's like for a lot of people, they say like, oh yeah, he enjoyed it when it was his time and now he's not letting us enjoy it. So something like that, right? So it's a different approach in that concept. So the key extension of your mind being nothing other than a pile of habituations put together. So practice is nothing other than habituation. Simplify it. Simplify it to that. One day you think about love, 2 days you think about love, 3 days you think about love. Eventually you come to a point where you don't even have to think about love. Love just arises. So first we say Töngyur, Tömigyur, and Chanyam Onot. Tömigyur, then Chanyamba, then Töngyur. So this is basically means first it's effort, then it turns into joyful effort, then at the end it only turns into joy. There's no more effort. You don't even have to put effort. So every practice, if you look throughout the tenfold paths, even in the tantric path, if you study the tantric path, you start to see that we call what we say Zochugi Nyongwa and Zomigi Nyongwa. Nyongwa is experience. Zochugi Nyongwa is experience through effort. And Zomigi Nyongwa is experience through no effort, effortless experience. So every experience of the path has the same method, as simple as that. Make sense? Okay. So habituation, I think this is an important part of understanding the mind, is that the mind is simplified down. You don't have to think about so many different things. It's about building yourself through habituation. And habituation comes from conviction. That's why yesterday, I think your question, right, when it comes to enlightenment, conviction is important. Without conviction, enlightenment is, enlightenment itself comes from conviction. So the first step is not enlightenment, first step is conviction always. Make sense? So habituation comes through reasoning and logic, comes through conviction, and conviction comes through reasoning and logic. So your applications of your views, your perspectives, your understanding of, like I said, your willingness to expand the mind. We always say, if you want to look at something like this, the best way to understand this thing right in front of me is to understand it from all different perspectives. Learning to be a professor in this is learning every single aspect of character in this. Why there's 2 lines here, why there's 2 lines here, why there's a total of 4 lines, why there's 1 line near here, all of this. When you understand all of this, then you have reason, you have value, you have information. You use those information in order to, tweak the conviction, you use this information to tweak the mind. To get what? To get conviction. And through conviction, then you start habituating. And through habituation, now you are building character. Right? So I think explanation is a little bit easy, application a little bit hard, but I think application only hard when you make it hard. So we come back to the first point I said is everything becomes hard when you make it hard. Even before starting you already give up, then you can never start, right? A lot of the expertise in business, people who have financial expertise, they always say, forget about all, just start. And the first step is just taking the first step. You need to start. You need to start. The same thing with jogging and running, right? People who have problem want to exercise and they have a problem. They set their alarm clock. They set 3-4 different alarm clocks. Everyone after 5 minutes, and then at 5 minutes, ding 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 ding, and then after 5 minutes, ding 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 ding, right? So then at the end of the day, you look at it. Oh yeah, it's already past. Oh no, I don't want to go. Right? So you give up. Even before you start, you give up. So I always say, if you want to learn how to jog, don't think about going jogging. Think about waking up first. That's the first step, waking up. And you can just wake up, wash your face and go back to sleep. Give yourself that freedom. Wake up, wash your face, go back to sleep if you don't want to jog. Then after waking up and washing your face, the likeliness that you will want to go back to sleep is a little bit less now. So now you say, even if you don't want to go jogging, you put on your jogging shoes and your, whatever it is, or you prepare your bottle of water that you want to carry with you. Something like that. Take the second step. You don't have to go jogging. If you don't feel like it, you take your shoes back off and put it back. Then you put your shoes on. The likeliness that you will take it off now again decreases. Same thing with habituation and experience and practice. It's the same thing. You need to take the steps. Without taking the first few steps, if you're thinking about enlightenment without taking any steps here, then it's just going to be far, 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 far off, and you're never going to reach there. The moment you start taking those steps, you start waking up, you start washing your face, you start putting on the shoes, and then, like I said, even if you don't want to go jogging, just say, I'm going to open the door and look outside. Now it's even better. The air is fresh. There's birds chirping. It's not so sunny. Now you're getting more, pulled into wanting to go jogging. So exactly the same. Now we are joyful effort. That's joyful effort. Then you start walking. Maybe not running. You don't start with running. You start with walking. So you just go walking. And slowly that walking turns into joy. Then nothing can stop you. Then there are some people, every morning it's not like they push themselves to get up and do. No, they do it because they like it. They enjoy it. So practice is exactly the same. You learn how to enjoy it, nothing can stop you. I think if you look at your own, if you have gurus, if you have practitioners that inspirational people, inspirational people in your life, you look at them, they're full of happiness in what they're doing. And that is the secret to really, really, really being able to do what is important. So that's the fourth one. Then comes to refining. Refining is important because, like I said, a method is not suitable for each and every person. Each and every person has a practical, logical, sensible, ideal method to practice. One of my friends, she has been, she doesn't like pujas, she doesn't like meditating, she doesn't like any of those things. But she has given her whole life, guess what? Feeding dogs. Every morning she gets up at 2, 3, cooks a huge pot of food, and puts this food in sort of like a basket sort of thing, carries it all the way, feeding dogs like this. And she's been doing, I think, more than 30-40 years now. She loves doing it. That's her practice, that's her path. That is what is going to take her towards enlightenment. It's very personalized. So I think refining is important, because if you go with the social norm, then social norm, there is culture involved, there is influence involved, there is people involved. Some people want you to prostrate this way, some people want you to prostrate that way, some people want you to put on hat, some people want you to put on shoes. You're going to be very confused. And the method that works for one person normally doesn't work for the other person. That's also very clear, because like I said, we are beings of many characters and many different kinds of mindsets, right? So we cannot work in a one area, one sort of thing. So this is again refining, and refining has to do a lot with understanding yourself. That's why I said yesterday, learn to nurture your mind like your own child. That's where you know your secret to how to take care of yourself and what is the best path for yourself. Yeah. Some kids like chocolate, some kids don't like chocolate, some kids want toys, some kids want that, some kids they need a little bit of scolding, they need a little bit of discipline. Some kids, if you discipline, they become even worse, right? So therefore, you understanding your kid in order to find the exact method to to nurture their kid. Now that is important, right? Right? Everyone who has a kid knows this. I think. Yeah. So the amount of even if you are being harsh, then also the amount of harshness has to differ. Sometimes there has to be a little bit. Sometimes you do it. When you overdo it, you understand that you overdid it. That's also there. So same thing with yourself. Your mind is as fragile as a kid's mind. No difference. It goes berserk. There's more information, of course, but that's the only difference. Yeah, emotionally, as vulnerably, everything is exactly the same. So that's why one method or few methods that is universally talked about is love. Yeah, we can incorporate with love so well, and it's a universal language because it works on every single human being. Some, of course, take more love than others. That is difference, like I said. But then again, it's a universal language that works for everyone. And it's not just human beings, even animals, you see. Same thing. You tie up a dog, you beat the dog, it becomes an unstable dog. As simple as that. You learn to take care of the dog, be kind, love, especially love and care. Learn to really nurture the mind. Then the dog turns into a beautiful dog. Right? So there are these videos, sometimes I see them, they take stray dogs that have all of their hair lost. They look very ugly, beaten up, messed up, and when a human goes near, they're growling, they're biting, So then these shelters, they take them in, they wash them, they feed them, they take care of them. Oh, these dogs later, after 1 year, 2 years, they don't look like the dog that they took from the street. The hairs are long, looks very, looks like a dog that has been taken care very well of, So the change happens there exactly, huge change happens. Same thing with our own mind. You need to relate these things to your own mind, because becoming your own therapist in that way is extremely important, because like I said, this is about refining, refining the methods that work for you to be even more suitable for you, and that has to do a lot with your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, your ability, and all of that, combined together. Okay, so that's another point, I think. Refining, you can call it refining, and then through refining, then the simplicity of tweaking becomes very easy. Yeah, when you have something you like, then it becomes, some people don't like to drink. Yeah, but the secret is not to get them to drink water all the time, is to find out what they like to drink. Yeah, once you find out what they like to drink, then you don't even have to ask them to drink. Always drinking. Right? We had one uncle, then he likes arak. You know arak? Arak is a local liquor, alcohol. So morning get up, drink alcohol, evening get up, drink alcohol, night time get up, drink alcohol, always drinking alcohol. But then the family, they try to get him to drink water. Oh no, cannot. He won't touch it. For him water is like poison. So it's similar, right? As long as you know what is suitable for you and what you like and what you are in tune with, then the possibility of working with that becomes higher. And I think same thing with every emotion. We talk about anger a lot, and generally when we talk about anger, of course, in a general theoretical view perspective, anger is extremely bad. Anger is not good. If you are habituated in anger, then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Today, someone comes and bumps into you, then you feel angry, then you are like, this guy, such a horrible guy, right? Then that continues. Tomorrow he doesn't have to bump into you, just looking and seeing that guy, you are thinking, what a horrible guy, right? Then if you are consistent, if you practice every day in thinking that, then one day it will turn to, this guy is so horrible, I want to punch him. I should have beaten him that day when he bumped into me, right? So now it's growing because of your practice every day, consistency. Consistency, you're consistently applying that method every day to practice that hatred, that anger. Then one day from I should have beaten that guy, it turns to I should have killed that guy. Now it's getting even severe. Then from, you still continue 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. After a decade it turns into, this guy and his family. This guy and their race. So then this anger builds up to the point where you are, I think a lot of problems, conflicting between countries, wars, they happen like that. It simply happens because someone wasn't happy about something, and then consistently practice in that unhappiness and hatred and anger, and develop to a point where you're willing to bomb each other and wipe each other out off the surface of the earth. Very sad. But how did it happen? It happened because of consistency and practice. So the same thing with love again. So if you look at every single character of your mind, it gets developed in the exact same way. No difference, in the exact same way. So now one thing we need to figure out is how do we figure out the stabilization? So that one, like we talked earlier, it goes from Themigyu to Chanyam to Thengyur, right? It goes from unconvinced to relatively convinced to convinced, right? It works that way. So then, when we are talking about love and compassion, then it's same thing. If you are, the only thing is you need patience, right? You need patience is basically putting effort. Continuous effort in something that, whether it takes, realized effort or not, that is different. But if it doesn't take realized effort, then no problem. But normally it does take realized effort. You put realized effort into something, and you convince yourself something, and then you keep on the conviction and have the consistency running in the back. And that consistency eventually piles up to become your, a part of you, a part of your mind, a part of your character, right? This person is a very kind, very gentle, very nice person. You think that person was born like that? No. The likelihood is very, very, very not likely. There's influence now. So through that, another thing that we need to be very aware in regards to the mind, its influence. We are very, very, very strongly influenced by everything around us. This is why I said the mind is so vast, and there's so many things to see, and so many things to hear, and so many things to feel. Yeah, so many things to taste. So our senses, there's so many variables when it comes to discovering our senses. And we explore that to the point where our senses are engrossing, and these senses capture us to do things, to view things, to perceive things. And smart people who do business know how to use that into their advantage to make more money, so they convince people. That's what they do, right? You convince people that the iPhone is the best, that it gives you the best visual, yeah, best sound, best touch, best look, the shape, yeah. So overall, it's the senses that you are working with. Once you convince someone, oh yeah, it has, based on the 5 senses, it's the perfect thing, then that's when you are convinced, and then your conviction starts to kick in, and that's when you try to work very, 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 very hard to get an iPhone, right? So people use this, and they know, they understand this, they use this in their advantage to make a lot of money and build wealth. Now just imagine you knowing this about yourself. Wow, what you could achieve out of that. Potential is limitless. Yeah, limitless potential when it comes to the character of the mind, the feelings, the emotions. So again, that's another thing that that we need to understand is how what was it? Influence, right? How easily our mind is influenced because we are in some ways, sort of slaves to our emotions, or our senses, right? Because of that, how easily it is to, to manipulate and convince the mind. Now from that, I think, comes the concept of understanding the mind from what we say, generalization. And generalization, what time, until what time we are doing? 10:30, okay, 22 minutes. Okay, so yeah, so these are, I think, key points of understanding certain characters of the mind and how you can work with. I hope that there was maybe a little bit of information in there where what that can be useful to characterize our mind. The whole, at the bottom line of it, of the whole thing, you need to understand that our mind wants peace, our mind wants joy, our mind wants happiness. The only reason our mind is so unsatisfied with everything is because we link peace, happiness and joy to a lot of other things. Yeah, we relate happiness to money, we relate happiness to big cars, good houses, big houses, that, this. We relate happiness to all kinds of different things of what we need. The more I have, the more happy I will be. So greed. So we relate happiness to all of that. But then we find that we are most happy when the emotions that we feel, especially love, are genuine, sincere and unconditional. Yeah, when you are given an opportunity to save a dog, a puppy on the side of the road that was hit by a car, there is sadness. But when you are given the opportunity to save it and nurture it back to life, oh, there's nothing more happier than that. If you have a kid, seeing your kid grow and flourish and becoming, the person you dream, there's nothing more happiness than that. So the genuine, sincere, unconditional kindness are the best. People, we experience that, but we don't concentrate on that. So concentrating on that is, I think, extremely important. I call them the sparks to great compassion, because it's like small sparks we have, and we have them from time to time. Sometimes we see people on the side of the road, and then we have that that genuine, sincere, unconditional. You're not expecting anything from them. It's just kindness, love, that you want to care and look after, and you wished you could provide, you wished you could do something. Sparks, genuine, sincere, unconditional sparks, and these happen a lot when the object of these sparks are innocent. So we can relate very closely with innocence. That's why it's easier to be patient with a child than to be patient with a grown-up. Right? If a grown-up starts showing a tantrum, no more patience at all. But when a child is showing a tantrum, the likeliness that you are willing to apply patience there is higher, because of the genuine, sincere unconditionality of it. Yeah? So these are key characters that you need to understand when it comes to the mind. Second thing, when it comes to practice, the applications of the practice, always look at these three things in every practice. You look at the genuinity of the practice, the sincerity of the practice, and how unconditional our practice is. The moment you see that the practice, the kindness that you are practicing is conditioned, it's already going sideways now. Because the moment it doesn't meet the conditions, when it meets the conditions, then one thing, okay, there's both problems. When it meets the conditions, then you understand that the happiness is very short-term lived. Yeah, you celebrate for one day. It's like getting, what do you say? I don't know. What do you celebrate? Getting a race, money race or something like that. One day is happiness celebration. From tomorrow is back to square one, right? So something like that. So first thing, when it's conditioned, then the happiness is very short-lived. When it's unconditioned, it lives in here, memory for years and years and years and years. You just close your eyes, you think back throughout your life, the real happy times. Yeah, maybe it was a picnic that you went on with your family, where you had your dogs and your grandchild and your kids and your dad and your this, and everyone was so, so comfortable and happy, genuine, sincere, unconditional. You didn't expect anything out of that. Those memories really stick, really stick. And every time you close your eyes and you try to think about those memories, then a smile appears on your face. Yeah, that's the kind of happiness we want. The second thing, like I said, if you achieve it, then it's short-lived. If you don't achieve it, then there's another problem, right? When it's if it's conditioned, then when you achieve it, when you don't achieve it, then it's not meeting the conditions, and because it's not meeting the conditions, then it turns into a problem. So now it's no more about expressing love. It's about meeting up to expectation, and especially meeting up to your expectation. Now it's messed up. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And then now you are involving a little bit of hatred, because maybe what we say self. What is the opposite of self-confidence? Self-loathing. Self-loathing. Yeah. So a little bit of self-loathing add, then a little bit of self-hate add. Then because you hate, a little bit of self-hate comes, then you need somewhere to blame, then you start looking for a place to blame, then you throw the blame over there, then you are creating a little bit of anger there, then the dissatisfaction of all of this starts to grow, then because the dissatisfaction starts to grow, the hatred starts to grow, the anger starts to grow, then the self-loathing also starts to grow, then that turns into depression. So now you see what I mean, right? Instead of going that way, it's going the exact opposite way. So character of the mind, I think simplified, it's easy when you understand it in this kind of, don't make it too complicated. You can make it complicated. We can talk about the 6 primary mind, the 52 secondary mind, how it involves with each character, how we need to learn the Mikpa means Zindangonga the Gyuba, which is like you look at an objective. The objective is one point, and then learning to to decrease and increase on basis of the objective, the subjective matter with the relationship with the objective matter, and how to balance that, how to figure out what the objective matter is in correlation to the emotion that you are feeling, the thought that you are feeling, the vision that you are feeling, what you are seeing, what you are feeling, the senses. So you can make it very, very complicated in that sense, but then again, the simplified version is much, 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 much better. Make sense? So okay, I'm going to stop exactly on time, 10:30. And we have a break now?
Yes.
Yes, we have a short break, stretch yourselves. Then next session, what do you want to do? You want to go even more further, or you want to have question answers? What do you feel like? Any suggestions? Suggestions? No suggestions. Huh? Okay. I'm very lazy. so careful what you wish for. I'm just kidding. Okay. So
Maybe some questions and answers, just so people make sure they understand what we just.
yes. So that's good. Yeah. So maybe next session we back in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, we're back in 20 minutes. Then we do some question answer. Yeah, feel free to ask any question. We do some question answer. Maybe any doubts, any refining. Then after that, we can. I think that will take some time. We can go more deeper into based on the question answers into all of this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.